Hi everyone. So here is Moonlight Soul, and I'm bringing back by popular demand our very special guest, my soul sister 𝗘𝗪𝗧 from Growing the Flow. And this is something that's going to probably become a regular thing. So we're just going to call it another episode of Stars and Cards, where this time we're actually getting together to talk about these energies that we are experiencing post Lionsgate, upcoming new moon in Leo, and what is else yet to come. So 𝗪𝗧, please tell us.
Yeah, we're here. We're back. And actually, we're both back from traveling in some way or another, right? We're back in our nests and we were out and about in different ways. But I just got back this weekend from vacation. So I've been sort of unpacking in more ways than one, because just sort of taking in all of the symbolism and the things that come forward when you cohabitate with family for an extended period of time, 3 generations. So yeah, there was a lot of interesting things coming up. It was actually over Lionsgate, which was also my birthday. So very interesting. And I would say probably even surprising for me, that it was heavier than I expected. Like I'm supposed to be having my, it's my birthday and I'm kicking off a new trip around the sun and, all of that, which, it is. And I was very happy for the time away, but also just really noticing when we say shine on, that was kind of what I had channeled this month for these energies of shining on, certainly shining our light and really being our most authentic selves, but also shining a light on shadow, shining a light on these other aspects that need to come up, and connecting in with our inner child or our most authentic self and the challenges that can bring, right, and the discomfort that can bring. So yeah, we're just coming right in here with that, because that has definitely been something I've seen, at least from my end, coming up and being shown a light on for sure.
Yeah, and as usual, you and I, we have parallel life experience, because I was visiting my family in Slovakia only for just over a week, but it was enough. And we were comparing notes, what was coming up for me, and it was some of the similar themes, some of the similar themology. Obviously, that was also cohabiting with multiple generations, because my parents are similar generations to your in-law, and my sister comes with the babies. So then we have the younger generation. So it was very interesting how these energies has been popping up simultaneously. And another thing that's very interesting is just build up towards this Lionsgate, and then following up with this upcoming new moon in Leo, which we have to come in 2 days time. So yeah, definitely the sun is shining on many things right now, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it or not, but I mean, but I like it because it's needed. It definitely felt like, as heavy as some of those moments were to navigate, I could tell that it was like, it really was like a peeling back of layers and like a stripping away things that had to go. So I definitely was aware of that as while moving through it. And I think that it's actually the perfect way to build up to this new moon, because we want to enter into the new completely free of all of those things that we've been dragging with us, no, unwittingly, even maybe not even aware of the fact that we were carrying those things. So it's the necessary clearing that was coming now before we really prepare to step into the new. And it's funny because I was thinking today, because I did get some sunburn, so I'm like actually peeling, and I was thinking like, wow, I really am like peeling back the layers, like stripping away, like the old layers, and it was just kind of interesting to think that some of that old stuff was coming off because I was preparing for this new energy.
And it's like another thing that I like took out of it was that how I respond differently, or have an opportunity to respond differently, because there's nothing new under the sun. These people bring the same triggers up to the surface from us, and is really the opportunity to respond in a new way when it actually doesn't trigger us that much anymore, and then we probably don't even notice it next time it's happened, or not to the extent we don't give it so much power. So I feel really, with everything that's going on and the sun is shining on it, it's really the opportunity for rebirth in it. And as we might know, yesterday we had Venus Sun conjunction, so Venus has been reborn. She's a new Venus now, and she's actually in a closing phase to Sun before she was in a new phase because she's retrograde. But I feel that all this symbology is it's just so powerful right now. And yeah, there is definitely this opportunity with the South Node in Libra. So we know that a lot of relationships are coming back to teach us some lessons or something, give us some breadcrumbs there. And it really is the opportunity to make a new choice under all circumstances. And that includes responding under the same circumstances in a different way.
Yeah. And it's so funny because as you're saying that, I had, you know, the live that I do on Sundays to tap into our collective energy. So those 5 cards that I pull for this week, I just got done doing a little recap over on my Sharecast. And as you're saying that, I'm like, well, the sun came up for Monday, which was here and now, and it's setting the tone for the week. And then the potential blocker challenge is the 6 of Cups, which is all about reflecting back and looking at childhood and karmic connections. And then like I'm seeing the cards as you talk, because it's literally the story that was laid out for our week ahead energy. So it's, and it culminates into actually the 10 of Cups, which is really that wholeness, that coming into completion of this story, that old chapter, that old way that you would greet, you know, some of the players aren't going to change. That's the other thing too. When we're talking about family and generations, there are some old dogs there that aren't necessarily going to be learning any new tricks, right? So there's sort of like this coming to an awareness of, you know, what I have control over, my actions and reactions to others and circumstances. And so as that old chapter closes, that old version of me that may, and I was joking actually on the Sharecast, because I was saying that you know, I'm there with my father-in-law of a particular generation, and I'm sitting at the table, he's sitting at the table, and I'm minding my business doing something. He says, what is this? And I looked at him and I said, and he says, well, what is all that? And I'm like, what is all what? Like, did I spill something? He says, what's this purple stuff? You know, and I'm like, here I am on the night before my 44th birthday. You know, and yes, that's right. It's purple. That's what it is. Like, you know, and it makes me laugh because it's like, he has no, you know, that's just, he's coming from a particular perspective. I'm coming from a particular perspective. And it's just like, yeah, you know what? I needed a little something different. I decided to put a little color into my hair, you know, like there it is. That's what's with it, you know? And whereas there could have been a version of me that would have been much more, you know, felt called out or judged in a way that I have to like explain myself or something. And it's a silly example, but it's a practical one to say that these dynamics come up where there is this gap, there is this disconnect when it comes to our perspectives. And that's been definitely a key word that's been coming up a lot, is about our perspectives and how we're looking at things and shifting of perspectives. So as we do that, the story changes. When I shift my perspective, the story changes, right? So I thought it was so appropriate that the position for Thursday's energy in the spread that I use represents how are we growing? And it's the 10 of Cups. So that is the happy family under the rainbow, you know, this idea of wholeness and coming into completion of a story, completion of a chapter, turning the page and stepping into the new. So with purple hair, apparently.
Yeah, but what fascinates me about the purple hair is that your father-in-law saw you with the purple hair, with purple in hair for many times over the past, I mean, I don't know how you've been dyeing it that way, but ever since I knew you, you had this color in your hair.
It's been over a year.
You met during that period of time. He stayed in your house. He was having breakfast and dinner with you. And it was just now that he noticed it.
Perspective.
That other thing I wanted to mention, because you're saying about the hair, you know, like, I mean, we haven't met personally, but I love these baggy, you know, these harem pants, or these pants that people get from, you know, Thailand normally, with elephants on them, like these comfy pants, yeah. And I worked on a cruise ship, like now, you know, it's been a while because I stopped when the pandemic set in. But I was working on a ship for a year, and I always would bring these pants home. I would even bring them as a gift because they're so comfortable. So what I'm trying to say, I've been wearing these pants for years. And I mean, this is something people in Asia wear all the time. It's nothing new. It's not a new fashion trend, but it became obviously westernized now because many people has been going to Asia and they brought these things back with them. But I remember when I first brought these things to where I'm from, in Slovakia, in this tiny small city, and my sister did not want to go out with me. She said, I am not going out with you wearing those pajamas. And now look at the world where people just wear it normally. So I sometimes feel it's so funny that, well, somebody has to be the trendsetter, you know, somebody has to be the one. And now it's like this whole thing, you know, for me is like, okay, what's next? So like you have purple hair, you know, like the next thing somebody else is gonna have purple hair, is gonna go, okay, well, now what else we gonna do? But somebody has to be the one, you know, just like with this Jupiter closing to Uranus, there's gonna be the conjunction next spring in April. It's exactly that. We are closing the chapters of the old perception of the old story. So we start in the new one, where we actually accept that, well, people have the right to do whatever, you know, like to be individuated. So, you know, if it's purple hair or pajama pants to be worn as a normal,
wear your baggy pants and your purple hair. Yeah, no, I know. I love that, because like I said, it seems like such a silly thing, but it's such a practical example of those differences in perspectives, but also how it also does help to even nudge forward some of the old dogs as well.
Yeah.
Now your sister might go out with you in those pants, but
and I don't care. I was always wearing them. I wouldn't take them off because somebody else said so. And now they don't. They just don't talk. They don't point it out anymore. But nothing has changed. And I just like, okay, but you know, you have a right to your opinion. You don't have to wear them. But I'm going out wearing this, and you can choose whether you want to come or not.
Well, I'd say what's changed for me is I probably would have been much more bothered in the past of knowing that they didn't approve. There was a version of me. And so it makes me question, I might question myself, question my choices, or think like, oh, well, if they're looking at me and wondering why I'm wearing those pants and I look like I'm in pajamas, and everyone else must be. And there's this aspect that that's not the version of me that I want to embody, but I have spent some time in that version, you know, which is giving me this whole Six of Cups energy of reflecting back on. And, you know, we've been saying like people from our past coming to visit us. Well, even old versions of us, old versions of, you know, again, how we are in our relationships and how we relate to those relationships. So the way I would have handled that in the past versus how I handle it now, you know, and just being able to see that growth and that expansion. So, so interesting, you know, that popped up for both of us too.
Yeah, we had so many similarities. And, you know, it's very interesting because that's all this Venus retrograde, isn't it? We were talking about is all this Venus retrograde in this, our relationship to ourselves, our relationships to each other, and our relationships to our things.
Yeah. I have so many funny stories, just because obviously I had a character with me, because we were even talking about, I don't know how we got into it, about women, you know, being individuals and stuff. And there was something about the fact that, you know, they never used to complain or something. I said, let me tell you something. And I don't like, so now I don't care. I can just say it freely. I said, you know, when you go back and you see those TV shows from the 50s, and when she's greeting him at the door with the slippers and the pipe and the newspaper, do you think she was really happy to do that? Because I'm going to spoil it for you. She wasn't. She just didn't complain about it or say so, right? So it was like, and he's just looking at me shaking his head because he just knows that I'm going to call it out, you know? And he doesn't have to get it or agree, but there's a seed planting that happens there. There's also a boundary setting that happens there, because we're saying the old me might have been like, ooh, sheepish about, you know, or, oh, I guess I can't talk about that around them or something. Now it's just like, no, actually, you know, and I think it's a little microcosm of either agreeing to disagree or agreeing to understand that we come from different perspectives, at the least, you know, that we have different perspectives. We've had different experiences, and I can honor your experience. I'd appreciate you honoring my experience in return. However, that falls under the category of things I have no control over. So, yeah.
It's literally this, because like even with my clients, you know, the clients that come to me, there's so much repeating theme as always. And like, it's usually the people that come to me because I guess they are in a resonance with my energy and I'm a rebel, where we came here to change the pattern in the family bloodline. We came here to update the pattern because, well, somebody always has to be the one to do it. Because I mean, if there were no rebels in human history, we would never get very far. We would never change. We wouldn't be where we are now if there wasn't these rebels that were on the fringe of society, then that became normal, and then some other fringe became, you know, the fringe, because this is what changes the pattern. And now, as we are entering this Pluto in Aquarius 20 years transit, there is a lot of this old conditioning with the Saturn in Pisces, and, you know, Pluto being again in Capricorn for the retrograde, and there will be one more stint next year. There is a lot of these outdated patterns that hold the structure of society together, which now became decayed. It became, you know, like it lost meaning. Like, what is the meaning of a woman not being able to express herself? Like, what is the meaning of that? Like, just so somebody feels not threatened or something. So you know, there is a lot of these outdated patterns, whether they are in our family, in our society, between women, between men, between whatever gender you call yourself, it doesn't matter. There are outdated patterns that are being like seen now after these 15 years of Pluto going through Capricorn. Capricorn is the structure of the society, and they are becoming visible, especially as last time we got together before the full moon in Aquarius. So we are starting this new cycle now, this new moon in Leo. And I was bringing this up even like in my collaboration with my astrologer friends, that this year, since the double new moon in Aries, we are closing the old before we start a new, because before it would be the new moon in Leo and then full moon in Aquarius. Now everything is reversed, which is just telling us we are closing the old cycles. We have to close the old cycles first before there is this new energy streaming in. And we know we had this 8-8 portal, and that was right after 1 week after this full moon in Aquarius. And that's why when we last time met, we were saying this is a pivotal month. This month is very important, and we can already see how things are shifting. And it's been only like 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and things are changing so rapidly. So yeah, so I'm not surprised.
That's such a good point about the changing of the full moon, new moon, and how it's occurring in the months now with that shift. And it's a pivot, right? It's pivotal. It's pivoted. And now we're seeing it from the flip side. But again, there's like everything you just said, the light is being shown on it. It's coming up to the light to be seen. So shining is not just, yes, projecting out our most authentic selves and shining our light and all those things, but also, again, there's no getting there without moving through this change. And that was another symbol that came up on my journey, because I was kayaking, and, you know, I was reporting from the kayak. And again, I made a video where I shared some of the insights that came up. And on that day, the dragonflies were coming out, and there was all this energy about transformation and resilience and all of that. And I was paddling next to a bridge. And so there was messages coming up about temperance and that middle way, and dipping our toe into and kind of being between worlds, being in transition, you know, not yet, you know, no longer where we once were, not yet where we want to be or where we're going. But there's this bridge energy. And that's part of what we're talking about, the role that we're playing as the change bringers, or the champions of pioneering into the new, the bridge. But the next day when I went out, there were crows on top of the bridge. And so, you know, crows resemble change and expansion and freedom and all those things. And it was like this whole, bringing it back to our 2 weeks ago when we met, and the whole never-ending story came up about the Sphinx, and you can't pass through unless you're being your most authentic self. I felt like these two crows were there, and I'm paddling, and it's like, you're not getting through this bridge without change. Like, you can't pass go without change gone come, change is here, we're here. And like, it's all a part of this process of what's bridging us between here and there. So it's just so interesting. The symbols are everywhere. But yeah, so well, I have my decks here. Maybe we'll start with pulling a Queen of the Moon card, do you think? Like, just into what we have coming up. And I'm actually going to spray hope, positive mindset. So we have this energy coming in, bringing in hope, but also it's connecting us in with the star, you know, of those wishes, what we're looking to manifest in our life, really tuning into this new moon energy and how we can work with it as we set the intention for a collective card that kind of gives us an overview of the energy around this new moon.
And this new moon is conjunct by this Venus that just been rebirthed yesterday at the time of us recording, and it will be squared by Uranus. So this is the last quarter square, which is the crisis of consciousness, and that's just telling us, well, the change is coming, ready or not. We need to break free out of the outdated patterns. So yeah, so everything is symbology, and I believe star represents Aquarius, right? Is the future.
Yes, exactly. And the star actually came out at the full moon in Aquarius. I had brought out for the empowerment pack, we had the strength card 8, the Leo card, and we had the star card for the Aquarius energy, and our spread was built off of that. So it was bringing in the bridging between those two energies. So
well, let's see if number 8 comes out again.
I know. It's like, what's going to be the theme? Because there always is one. So let's see where we're starting here with this Queen of the Moon message. Ooh, the path.
Ooh, it looks
Wait a minute, Mila, tell me what the number is. I didn't even look. I saw it on the camera.
It is number 8.
You called it.
We continuing the theme, guys, ladies and gentlemen. This is the theme for the upcoming year.
Oh my gosh, this is so funny. This is so funny because I just deleted the pictures, but I do still have them. So this is like a rambling, but it's funny because it's about perspective. I was in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and so it's beautiful down there. This is where we were on vacation, and we kind of had this high like lookout point, and you could see all the stars in the sky. So beautiful. And we have this app that's called Sky View. And so it's this app where you just put it anywhere in the sky and it automatically connects for you, you know, what you're seeing, the constellations, the zodiac, and it puts it all together. So like, here's Aquarius and there's Saturn right there, and it'll show you everything, right? Wow. So I'm shining this up in the sky and we see this picture, and there was something that was like in the picture. We were like, oh, what is that? Is that a planet? Is that the moon? And I'm taking a screenshot. Here, the house had on it an oval window just like this. And so the camera is looking at the actual what is outside, but it's creating a picture over top of it of the constellations or whatever it is. And we're all like, what is that? And we're taking pictures. And then I take it away. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the window. And so this is speaking to perspective. This is speaking to the possibility of things maybe being different than what they seem, or looking at things more deeply. But you know, it's funny because it's literally an oval window just like this. It's this exact scene, and we were all just like, what is that? And it was the window. So it was sort of interesting speaking to the different perspectives that can come up and how real things can look. But you know, we can't make up that this is number 8 and that it is called the path. And yeah, there's definitely a portal energy here, right? There's definitely an ascension happening with that ladder, but she's not doing anything yet. She's at ease. She has her hands behind her back, and she's just sort of looking, contemplating, but not necessarily taking any action yet. And that could also speak to all the retrograde energy that is present as well.
And the new moon, because new moon is dark, so we can't see what's in the future. So she's just trusting and visualizing, planting the seeds. Because to me, this is like a portal into the future. And in the window, you have whatever you want to manifest. So that's why I always say, be so careful about what you're thinking about, because we put in energy and emotion into it, and it's going to manifest. So now I feel that in a sense, because this is the transitionary year where a lot of cycles are closing, especially, well, these 3 years because of the Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces. And it literally, like, I will say to my clients so many times, like, if, you know, like, now is the opportunity, we shedding so all this old skin, going through, you know, this shadow work and stuff. And by the way, I use the analogy of that you cannot get to the light without going through the tunnel. You know, you need to go through the tunnel, through the dark to get to the light. But it really is like that portal, you know, that like there is this multiverse out there, these unlimited possibilities, like literally whatever you want to choose, because, you know, there is this seeding of this new energy. Leo is the creativity. It's us creating the future. And there is this new moon in Leo right after we had this Lionsgate portal, which was the 8-8, which is just like this portal. And now it's like, what do you want the future to look like? So I think this is such a perfect card, literally, for what we are going through right now collectively.
And it's all possible, no matter what it looks like on the surface. And so that's the other piece that you were saying about Uranus, like expecting the unexpected and being open to those things, that even if we, you know, it's a surprise or it's something unexpected and it may not even be something preferable, so we think, there's these new ways and means and possibilities that are showing up. That last night, I always offer personal card pulls for people after I do the collective messages, and there were a lot of pages coming up, and the pages are bringing forward messages, and it's new energy, it's like novel energy. But the Page of Cups in that particular deck, the Light Seers, is really beautiful because it talks about, yes, my feet are on the ground and I'm sitting here, I'm present, but my head can also be in the clouds. I can also be imagining what's possible. And there's this energy of, there's a little pig with wings. It talks about like as if pigs could fly, you know, when pigs have wings, it's like dream big and then go bigger, even bigger, like what is possible, because there's ways and means all around you that could be coming forward that you can't predict. This isn't something that you can necessarily plan for and certainly can't control. So there's this energy too of what do you want it to look like, and being in that energy and bringing that forward, the this or something better energy, you know, of that. And yeah, the climb, and it's dark, so we can't necessarily see. It's like one wrong at a time, hand over hand, and with each step we take, then the next one is illuminated, and then the next one. It's not like we can see from top to bottom, from bottom to top, you know, exactly the path.
And this is so perfect, literally, with what's going on in the sky right now with this, you know, the new moon is going to be squared by Uranus, but actually Uranus is in conjunction with Jupiter. The exact conjunction, as I mentioned, will be in April. And Jupiter is exactly what you just mentioned. It's the belief system, and it's expanding whatever we want. You know, Jupiter is in Taurus. Taurus is all about this material stuff, about this manifestation based on what you believe you can manifest. So it's literally exactly what you just said right now. That's exactly this Jupiter in Taurus, which is part of this square to this new moon in Leo. And also at the same time, we have in the Mars-Neptune opposition. And Mars is in this Virgo, discerning, right? Like gathering tools, making changes, making adjustment in our life. And Neptune is dissolving the old. So it's like, well, you know, with Saturn being in Pisces, there is no limits. Whatever you want to manifest is just a matter of whatever you believe. And Jupiter in Taurus has the ability to manifest whatever you want it to be, but do you believe you can? Do you believe in yourself? So this is just such a beautiful, like literally innocent energy, because like the Leo, the childlike innocent, it's such an innocent energy. Like when you give a child this piece of paper and crayons and you go, yeah, go crazy, do whatever you want with it. And then you just wait for the creation, you know, how they're gonna express themselves. So that's literally what's going on here right now.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, it's so true about children and like the innocence and just the imagination of what's possible, and how that really is the template for us to look to think about, and really, again, connecting in with old versions, that version of ourself. You know, people say like, you know, if nothing was, if money was no object, if there was anything was possible, what would I want to do? What's the first thing that comes to my mind? Like, you know, right away. And really like allowing yourself to just come out with whatever is coming forward before all of that other stuff, before all of those layers that have been put in place that bring in all of the second guessing and the judgment.
And also based on what matters to us, because now with you know, the North Node had gone through Taurus for a year and a half, and it's this like what really matters to you, you know, also with this Leo, like what is the essence of you, not just like, oh yeah, this neighbor has a new car, so I need a new car, or I need this or that, like, but does it really matter, you know, does it really matter to you? Because we all have different needs. We are just, you know, there is all those form of present which we've been talking about, and it's present in everyone's life right now, because we're living in these accelerated times where we don't even have a time to stop and think and feel and breathe. It just is continuous going and going. And yeah, and it's like, but does this really matter? Does this really matter anymore?
Yeah. And it's kind of silly because it seems so simple once you really don't care anymore. it's just like, wow, I can't believe I ever cared about that, you know, like that kind of a thing where it's sort of, you know, just something clicks or shifts, and then you're finding yourself in a place where that seemed so impossible, as if when pigs fly, right? This energy of something like, yeah, right, I'm never going to be okay with, like, you know, not being accepted or people not understanding me, and then all of a sudden you are, and you're like, ah, how did I get here?
Yeah. Yeah, or like living with less, because when you try and then you realize I didn't need all that. Wow, isn't that?
This is Wheel of Fortune.
Oh,
Flow.
cool. And it's
But
number
that's
10.
number 10. So we still have all of this completion and finishing of chapters coming in. But I like this one because it has like what looks like a compass.
Yes.
And so, and it has the ripple energy of, you know, feeling into, and that's why I chose the Psychic Tower for the heart this time. Leo energy coming into the heart and feeling our way. So this isn't something that we're thinking or analyzing our way through. We're feeling. And so there's this connection with the heart chakra of feeling, and like eyes closed and feeling out what direction we're moving in or where to next, like that compass, your true north. And even the star card I was talking about, that particular version of the star, it looks like your true north, your star. There's a million stars in the sky, but your focus is on what feels most resonant to you. And so being in flow with that. And the Wheel of Fortune brings forward like that dial turns, and we're leveling up. We're into a new phase, a new season, a new chapter. You know, and that's what that 10 brings forward, is the closing out of the one chapter and the beginning of a new one, and the ripple effect of that. So that's what I see there with that ripple is, you know, you again, one wrong and then another on the ladder, and each one creates this ripple effect, this momentum that then makes it clear the next and then the next, you know, it's sort of rippling out.
And that's, to me, like really represents, like, I don't know why, I just look at it, I don't know what card Wheel of Fortune represents, what it represents in astrology, but to me, I just did, this is just looking at it, to me it looks really like the Saturn in Pisces, because like the wheel, like the closing of the cycle, and Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, and Saturn is the structure, and it's literally like you cannot go and rely on this external structure anymore, on this external of yourself to tell you what is the meaning of your life, because it's being dissolved, that it lost the meaning. And now, because he's in this fog, it's Pisces, he's in the fog, and the only thing that can help you to get out of it is your own inner guidance, your own inner compass. So there's so much symbology in that card, which is saying about this totality of the experience of externalizing our power, just like we have now with the South Node in Libra. And this man has his eyes closed, and to me it's like he looks like a very wise man that is like, I have the totality of experience, what it feels like to trust the external, so now I have to go within. And like this is literally how we describe Neptunian energy in evolutionary astrology, that, you know, it's like literally like going through a thick fog and you cannot see, so all you can do is get out and just feel your way through, and it's a step-by-step process. And also with the Mars in Virgo, it's a step-by-step process.
Yeah, and even just looking at with what you were just saying, the color of his clothing, the orange and the purple. So to me, it's speaking to third eye chakra, the intuitive knowing, and then the feeling of the sacral chakra, you know, your passion and being fueled by that. So it's like, again, it's just a knowing. It's nothing that's on the outside. It's nothing that's coming from book knowledge. It's something that we're just innately, intuitively compelled to do. So that's the thing too. Like, I can't be anything but me, ultimately. Yeah. Anything else that I try to put out there is eventually going to crumble because it can't stand, you know? And so then I have to ultimately will be brought back to my most authentic self. So
that's like when people are in relationships and they try to be pretending, well, you know, because this is how the society conditions us. Oh, you have to change this about yourself and that, and then when you change everything that you are, you're gonna meet that perfect guy. And it's like, well, but it's not gonna be perfect for you in that case. And then how long can you keep the pretense? Because eventually you can't, and then what's going to happen with that relationship, right? But this is how the society has been conditioned, that, well, you need to become this perfect version of yourself, but it looks something, it is very different explanation of what perfect really means, because it's by other people's standards.
Yeah, it's the slippers and the pipe at the door in the 50s. Like, here I am.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
the
I'm your
maybe
servant.
maybe you do, but the truth is, and it's so funny you use the dating, because it's so true. Like, oh, I don't eat much, or no, I don't like that, and just don't order things, and you're starving or something, like you're being something other than what you are. And that's temporary. It can never stand. If you build on something that's not genuine, ultimately it will crumble. So yeah.
That's the other aspects of Neptune, the smoke and mirrors, the disillusionment. It's also
Yeah.
creating this perfect ideal image of this person that is across the table of you, but it's just your projection of your dreams. It's not a real person. And then when we find out that this person is not perfect, then it's all like disillusionment.
And it's funny you say that, because even today too, when I was bringing through the recap of this week's messages, and we're talking about shining and being authentic, it's a little bit of a different circumstance of what we're saying, but it's the same message. The phrase "fake it till you make it," and I said, well, actually, it's face it till you make it. To say that, like, rather than faking it and being something that I'm not, I'm facing it. So whether I'm facing it to say that you have to move through the uncomfortable dynamic of actually saying, oh, well, actually, I don't care for that, but I like that, like being honest about something that that's not in common, or not what you think is expected of you, or whatever it might be. But also, again, on the flip side, like I said, the new energy of stepping into something that's new to you or unfamiliar, and you're not an expert, or you haven't done it yet, and there's this discomfort or this vulnerability. Rather than fake it till you make it, face it and say, yeah, this is new, this is uncomfortable, I feel vulnerable, but I'm facing it, a wrong over wrong, one step at a time, like facing it rather than faking it. And that's where these conversations can happen, and these, like, being honest from the gate about who we are and how we feel, just feels so much more authentic, of course, but it just feels like sturdy and like a stable way of building a relationship, because the relationship is either going to thrive from that or not. But so then our relationship is that we just aren't compatible, and that's okay, or whatever it is. Doesn't have to be in dating, but certainly in those ways that we tend to fake it because we think that's what's polite or expected.
And I really feel that this is so interesting that this comes up, because this is another message that's been coming up a lot in my readings for my clients, where people are insecure to do something different. But I said, well, you never will feel confident and trust yourself if you don't do it, because there will be always this, like, if there's a thing, like, yes, some people maybe are born confident. I mean, but how many of those are there? And all of us become confident by trying, failing, and trying again, and eventually we master it. And that's that Virgo archetype, because with Mars and Aries, you have this instinctual desire, but there is insecurity. And I always say to my client, it feels like that first day at school. And every single human being on this planet remember what that felt like. That first day at school, that first kiss, that first everything, the first day at your proper job or whatever, that it creates insecurity. But it's okay, because everyone in that firm or in that office knows that, well, there's a newbie, let's cut them some slack. Okay. And actually, it's exactly like you said, if people just fess up and say, well, it's my first time, then people have compassion for you, because they remember what that felt like. So there is nothing to be ashamed of. It's just like with the child, when it falls off its butt and it starts crying, the mom picks it up and says, don't worry, you will learn, you will master it. But we just don't have the same compassion for ourselves many times, because we are so critical towards ourselves as we have towards others. And that's, again, all this energy about this healing and stepping into your authentic self and just show up and do it anyway. And eventually you master it.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, by doing that, which feels really vulnerable and feels really like you're putting yourself out there and admitting something that you don't know, you're actually creating a safe space for other people, because you're normalizing being honest. I got to be honest with you. You know, you're teaching me this new thing, but I have no idea what you just said because I don't know what those, you were just saying this. Somebody's saying like, I'm sorry, I really don't know anything about astrology. You know, like to say like, I really don't know, you know, like, and so could you repeat that, or could you slow that down, or could you, you know, hey, we're bringing it to a relatable level, but you're also creating like you're setting that bar for others to say it's okay to not know, it's okay to be out of your comfort zone, you know.
Yeah, that's like, you know, if I had a reading with somebody from human design or something, I mean, I know very basic understanding, and they start throwing terminology about that gate and that gate, and I'll go like cross-eyed, like I have no idea
Yeah,
what you're talking about. So
yeah,
it's fine. And actually, it's funny that you mentioned it, because I shared with you that that's exactly what happened to me with that client this morning. That I just blah, 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 and she said, "Let me just stop you. I actually don't know much about astrology. Can you slow down?" And then you speak in a completely different way, and you go, "Okay, now I know what I'm dealing with." But you
mhm.
know, if people don't say, then you know how you're supposed to know. So then we change
Right,
our approach.
and then you could walk away from that reading feeling like, oh well, she didn't really say much, and I'm not really sure if it was resonant, and you don't know because you just, if there was a false impression, if we were faking it, then nobody's walking away truly feeling
Yeah.
fulfilled because it's not real. So that's a perfect, again, very practical way that that energy shows up.
Yeah, it's all this Virgo, and it also then helps me to learn different approaches, right? Like it
Yes.
helps me to master my skill, my tool. So yeah, it's like we all learn from each other, and this is the truth. And it's just like making ourselves vulnerable enough to give ourselves the opportunity to learn, and the other
Yeah.
person to learn.
Yeah. Ooh.
That's so nice.
Ace of Cups. Look at the ripple again. So see the
Yeah.
ripple effect. There's this energy of, again, dipping the toe into it. Like I said, both of these are showing a ripple energy of one small step, one small planting the seed. Like I said, this idea of change or difference in a way that's very approachable, very relatable. This is bringing us, again, Ace of Cups is an offering, so it's coming in as an offering of some new energy around the heart of love, emotions, relating. And look at the eye in the middle too, so that, again, there's this, we're really being invited into bringing it back again, like, you know, it's always been there. We're allowing that innate part of us to awaken and be taking the lead, you know, in the way that we are outwardly expressing it. You know, it's showing up coming from that place as opposed to one that's influenced by the outside first. It's from
Mhm,
the
mhm.
inside out,
Yeah,
seeing seeing through the heart.
and it's two ones on each side, because you have the one and then you have the 10, which is the ones. It's like the beginning and the closing of the cycle. And
Mm-hmm.
the heart is Leo, and we also know the heart is the gateway to your higher self,
Mm-hmm.
to your spiritual self. And also obviously the Leo is the child as well, but it's just everything is so connected. And I know in my experience that actually, when, because I had the opposite experience also, which we know about the situation with my ex, when we put this facade on, like, hey, you know, I'm confident, you can't do anything to me, you can't hurt me, and we speak from the ego place, which is also an aspect of Leo. You know, there are these polarities. You know, there is this lower vibration of Leo, which is this narcissistic and stuff, which usually comes from trauma. And then there is the other side of it, this generosity and open heart, and you know, being really like you open your heart to others. And we can see the difference when we talking to people and they put this barrier on, this protection, and it's about this ego. The ego is trying to protect you, it's got a function. But then it's completely different energy when we open the heart, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's much easier to connect.
It's so interesting you say that, because what I'm seeing is, and I'm trying to remember if it's this deck or the other one, that strength card, because when you bring up that shadow aspect of
Yeah.
Leo, that aspect of the ego, I'm looking for it, but oh, you know what? I wonder if it's because I combined those two together. It's the strength card where they're actually wearing that heavy helmet on the
Oh yeah,
head,
yeah, yeah.
and it causes them to be downcast, you know, like because you're not able to shine. And it is that aspect of that balance between taming that beast within that thinks that coming from the ego and feeling the need to be accepted, or in some way, oh, here it is. I must have passed it. It is this one. So, normally when you see the strength card, there's the lion and the woman, and they're connected, and there's the infinity symbol, and there's this, I've tamed the beast, we're all connected. But here, I've never seen another strength card like this that actually shows to me that shadow side, that it is heavy. That's a heavy burden to bear, that cloak holding us. And again, this helmet on top of the head, which is again about those beliefs and those heavy, the need to protect ourselves and to think that we have to put on that facade so as not to get hurt. But there is that wise version of us just right there that has our back, that's right there for us to see, that we are safe, and it is okay for us to be more vulnerable, to come from that more gentle place, that we don't have to be on defense in that way, or in some way be putting up those walls or the facade. Is exactly what I saw when you said that, just that energy of kind of being cloaked in that, instead of, shining our most authentic self. And that's an aspect to be seen too, in what ways we're still under that cloak, that we're still heavy under that belief system.
It prevents the authenticity. And then if we can't be authentic, then we will never make the true heart connection, because people don't see the true you. And then we're not going to attract the right person to us, because they are being attracted to that facade, to that control, to that cloak. And
it's not real. That when that's stripped away, that's not what's actually there. But it's okay that there was a time where that served you, whether it was to feel safe or to protect yourself, or there was a role that you felt that you needed to play. That's okay, because it's a part of your story. It's a part of the experiences that have brought you to this moment where you have this knowingness that's there. It's been there. This is your higher self behind you, your wise self. So when we drop into our heart, when we drop into that knowingness, then we can feel dipping our toe in, taking off that cloak, removing some of that armor, because we are safe. And it is okay to be, not just okay, but it's essential that we bring those two things into balance and harmony, because it serves a purpose, right? The ego has a purpose. It's just it's out of balance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, when like now that all this is built, is building up, we haven't even actually had physically this new moon happening, but I'm just feeling about this, the energy that's actually going to help, to tame all that fire is going to be the full moon in Pisces, because that's all about this compassion and forgiveness, and this connection to the source and wholeness and healing of the old wounds. And so the new cycle can begin. And I mean, between Pisces and Leo, there is an inconjunction, there is a blind spot, because of course Leo wants to shine. So it's like, don't have a time for all of that, but it's
feeling those feels.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what you mean, feeling, it's all this fire. I want to go out there and play and all that. And then, sometimes universe interferes, just like now we're going to have this moon dislunation squared by Uranus. So, sometimes things happen to put us on different path, or to reroute us in the direction that turns out to be the right one, but it doesn't feel like that at the time. So it's all this, again, back to these cards that we can see in front of us. It's trust your heart, trust your vision, trust your intuition, just trust.
And I think the key word here is flow. And that's been, I kept hearing everyone saying my favorite phrase, because saying, go with the flow, that's kind of where I came from with the grow in the flow, was a play on those words of grow through what you go through. And then that's where I came with grow through what you flow through. So when you are in flow with whatever is, even if it's not the way that I thought it should be, or how I want it to be, or, who has time for all those feels, I just want to shine. We can't deny that this is flanked by water. Both of these is bringing in the feeling, because we have to feel it to heal it. And as I've said before, I always feel that play on words with the strength card of healing, because it's healing something, but also bringing it to heal, bringing it into balance, bringing it into And it's not even submission, because it's like, you need those wild parts of you as well. Like they have a role to play. It's just that if it's been out of balance, or it's been too accentuated, that we've been in that aspect of self, that we're bringing it to heal. So feel it to heal it in both ways, to heal it physically or emotionally, but also just the idea of bringing it into balance and harmony as well.
And that's to bring these two aspects of Leo into balance, just like we said. Like, we need our ego. It keeps us safe. It has its function. It tells you don't cross the road. If you see the stream of cars coming in the middle of the highway, right? It has its function. But the main thing is to be in balance with the higher self, with the heart. Because if one is in charge over the other, it creates imbalance. Because even if we go into our spiritual bypass, we are still in a physical reality here. I mean, we cannot completely ignore that we are humans and we have all these things to deal with. So it's amazing to have this spiritual practice going on for us, so for ourselves, but we cannot forget about the other aspects of this reality. So that's why every sign has a polarity, and it has gifts to offer, and it's all about this balance. That's why they said that if it's too much Leo, you go to Aquarius and you find the balance. It's that Leo, like this drama and passion, and like making a scene and all this feeling into things, right? And then you go to Aquarius, which is like detached, aloof, and like, okay, what is the bigger picture here? And then it can go the opposite way, like, don't care, not my circus, right? And then you want to meet in the middle, where it's like a little bit of everything, just like, with the temperance, the balance. And actually, it's so funny, because this feels to me like what you were just describing now, like the full circle, with the story that we started with with the in-laws and my parents, and this like once we, in a sense, integrate the lesson, you don't have to keep attracting the same people or the same circumstances, because, and I mean, you probably will, but it won't trigger you anymore. So it's like, healing the beast. You just don't pay attention. You just go, yeah, it's part of life. It's fine. Who cares?
Yeah, it's like you turn the page. That chapter has ended, and now we go into the new with this. It's information gathering. It's like we said before about trying new things, or something that feels unfamiliar, unsafe. But now I've done it, and now I know. I figured out what works, what doesn't work, what feels right, what doesn't. And so I take all of those ingredients and all of those characters and all of those details into my new story. So I write my new story with all this new. It's like the muse. It's the inspiration I gathered from feeling it, from going through it. And that's the thing too. Like, yeah, in this physical 3D reality, there is still all of those aspects. There is the new car. There are the things that other people have, or maybe I like having a new car, or whatever it is. I'm experiencing. So I'm gathering. It's in the doing and in the being, in these experiences, that we make the most progress on our soul's journey. That's why we came here. That's the fool's journey, wants to experience all of these things from this 3D perspective. So it's actually exactly what's supposed to be happening again, even if it's not the way that we thought it should or would be.
Yeah.
Unexpected.
That's why this Uranus comes into play. He kind of creates some unexpected situation to help us grow with the flow.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying too about flow, is that just being aware of what's present. Now I feel more like, because I was saying about, 5 planets in retrograde, soon to be 7, Mercury, all the cliche things. But it's like, no, it's not about being fearful. It's about being mindful. It's about being aware of the energies that are present and flowing in them. So I'm allowing myself to be present in. It's like the changing of the seasons, and there's things that you maybe love about a season, or you really dislike about the season. So it's like, the season is here. I'm here. It's hot. It's cold. It's rainy. It's whatever it is. How can I flow through this season by embracing the things that I like about it, or that I enjoy, or that that it can feel more in flow, and then the things that I don't, working more cohesively with those things, rather than shutting down with that armor. Just being in flow is what I was feeling when you were saying that about going with the flow.
Yeah, and we give it the polarity, and it's also like there is nothing in the extreme is good, because I mean, I love going to Mexico in summer, in winter. So like, you know, their summertime, our winter time, because I am not fond of winter myself, but it gets too hot, you know. That's why I'm not there in summer, like now during our European summertime, because it's too hot, it's too humid, it's too extreme. And it's the same with the winters, you know, it can be too extreme. Everything in extreme is not good. Like now the fires in some parts of the world, some other parts of the world are underwater, there's too much rain. But if there was neither of these two things, then there would be again imbalance. So it's just a matter of balance. And as we can also see that there is so lack of balance or an extreme in our lives, in our society, in everything, then the nature is just reflecting it back to us, and so are the skies reflecting it back to us. So there are always usually some oppositions, because they require the balance, like these practical applications of what we learned. Because every time opposition, like we were talking last time during full moon, is an opportunity of integration of the what we learned in the past 6 months. But in this case, what did we learn about human collective up till this point that we can integrate?
Yeah. But I like that. That's almost like a challenge. Like I said, I'm feeling this connection to the muse, like the idea of like it making it our mission to experience the thing, experience the season, experience the transit, whatever it is, with our mission to extract the goods, extract all of the inspiration that we're going to take into the next chapter. So what did this show us? What did come up? And you know, we ahead of time, we use our tools, whatever they are. I'm pulling cards, you're looking at the chart, all the things to say, what might we expect, and you know, blah blah blah. And then we're going to be on the other side of it, and we're going to reflect back on all that happened, and we're going to say, wow, okay, so we didn't see that coming, but you know, wow, surprisingly this showed up or that happened. And we pull from all those things, again, what takes us into the next chapter to write that next version based on what we learned here, what we experienced here, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and all of it. You know?
And that's the creativity, also the, you know, the transformation, transmutation, and transcendation, because, you know, like, and I mean, sometimes I come across like clients with very like challenging stories, and then I have to discern, to tread very carefully, how am I going to approach it? And I have very little time to decide how am I going to approach it, because the person is right there in front of me. And how do you say to someone who's gone through something extremely difficult and tragic in many cases, to say, well, it happened for your highest good, you chose it, you know, like, you know. But in essence, I always try to like guide people to see the positive that came from it. Even the worst, hardest, most challenging, most tragic situation, there usually was something good that came out of it. You know, even like most people know 𝗘𝗠𝗣𝗧. Just look at 𝗘𝗠𝗣𝗧 and her, you know, her upbringing. Like quite a lot of people are familiar with what she has gone through, all the abuse and stuff. And now she's one of the most inspirational spiritual teachers and catalysts, because she's been there. So most people that go through difficult situation and need healing or understanding of their trauma, there is someone who's been there, so they can understand. So there are many times when we go through something extremely difficult and challenging, and there obviously there is a free will choice whether we allow that to take over our life and feel victimized forever, and just like in a sense not want to see the offering in that experience. And sometimes it is very hard. It is not like right staring in your face, like, you know, there's just all this difficulty, and it's not like, yeah, this is the gift. This is the gift of the experience. And then many times we need the time to heal, to see that offering. But it's again like otherwise it's just wasted, you know. Like in a sense, every single human, most people have certain period of their life which is challenging, and then if we fail to see the offering, the gifts from that, then it's like, well, then it's like the whole experience happened for nothing, because it just offered suffering, but not the gifts. So that's why it's like, again, like looking from that vantage point of observation, that okay, it is hard, maybe right now I don't know what is this telling me, I don't know what is the offering, maybe I will never know, but I'm open to finding out. And that might shift everything, right?
It's so funny, funny that you say that in the way, not funny, it's amazing. And it's why we are soul sisters, but also why the stars and the cards work together so beautifully. Because what you're describing to me is the fool's journey. And so I was like, right away, as you're talking, I'm picturing my favorite card, that it was right here at the bottom, of course. But before that is the fool, right? Trust. The key word is trust, right? Coming here as that clean slate, open. And so, you know, and that's something that's different too. Like you say, you have very little time. You have to be able to adapt to your clients' needs and understand exactly which version of the teacher should come forward to share and guide them, or just being a guide, you know, versus most of my sessions are pre-recorded. So I'm able to hold space. And so if I'm sharing the tarot, and so I'm saying, looking at the major arcana, understanding that it all starts here with the Fool. And so, you know, this is my understanding, this is my perception, and I invite you to just consider the possibility. We're just opening ourselves up to allowing, being open to the possibility that if in fact, as a soul, I've come here to have this incarnation to experience life in this body for my soul's growth, healing, learning, expansion, right? So that all the other fools, all of the other players on my stage are all here helping to facilitate that journey for me and me for them, right? So then I bring out my favorite card. This is the Hanged Man, but it's called the Observe energy. And this is about, again, it's literally everything we've been saying, because we have these different versions of ourself, right? And they don't all see the same perspective, because if this is me here today and I'm stuck, because the Hanged Man is about being stuck or being held up or in some way unable to move, but recognizing that there are versions of me. I have my past self, my future self, my higher self, my inner child, my ego self, and they all have a different perspective. They're all coming at this from a different angle. And in fact, brilliantly here, they each have a different earring that represents the different seasons. So as we've been talking about this seasons and being present with the cold, the heat, the extremes, we have, you know, a snowflake, we have a leaf, we have a sun, we have all a little, the different seasons all being represented here in, and I'll take people into saying, like, recognize there's something that your past self was really worried about. I don't know how this thing is going to turn out. I can't see what to do, where to go. And now you stand here on the other side of that, and you're able to reflect back and see, is there something that you could now tell your past self to help them to move through it, flow through it with more ease? So now we're considering the possibility that that future version of me already knows how this thing that I stand here now, I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. That I could even just allow myself to consider, imagine the possibility of what they may know to be able to help me through this. And this idea of being able to connect in with these different aspects of ourselves and recognize that they each hold different perspectives, any one of them not being any more true or false than the other. They're just the different perspectives that we hold. So I think there's something for the visualization, which is why I love the cards, but I think the stars too, because you're showing the chart and you're able to bring that in to show this map of the Fool's journey, the hero's journey, to understand all these different ways we can come at it. And again, they serve to be the muse. It's not about, yeah, but that's not real, you know, like, and once our logical mind tries to step in there and, you know, all of that, it's about being inspired. Allow that perspective to inspire you and give you, take from it the gold. You don't have to take it as gospel. Take the gold and use it to write your new chapter, write your new story.
Absolutely. And you know, there is this thing that I keep like, because I experienced this quite a few times in my life, and especially now recently when I came back to Bulgaria, when you just are present in a moment and you observe yourself observing, you know, you notice yourself that I am that is always present within you, which is not your name, it's not your ego, it's not your nationalities, it's just that something, that essence of who you truly are. And you observing, you like literally with the curiosity, you're observing this reality, and you like go, oh my God, I can choose anything I want right now. I can choose to walk here. I can choose to stay. I can choose to eat something. Like literally the options are unlimited. And sometimes it's good to catch ourselves in like moments where we actually have the totality of understanding that you always have the choice, because this vessel is just how the soul is having the experience, but the soul itself, it's immortal and it's unlimited, and it's just, this is the facilitator, this avatar, you know, how the experience is being recognized through the sensors, and all that kind of thing. And also, as you were mentioning about this, that when you get to the other side of the experience and you understand, you know, what it was about and that you could do it, I also think that sometimes we just need to, like, you know, with the trust card, we need to get out of the way, because the ego and the brain here, which is a very good instrument, it's actually, it doesn't create. The things are not created here, they created in your heart, they created through your intuition, through the essence of who you are, because the brain is like just a computer. It just translates, it just like gather information, and that just allows you to pull it out of the database to make certain decisions, but it doesn't create. And that's why I feel that sometimes actually when we don't have the answer, then just step out of the way and just give it time. Just like with the hangman, there is a delay, just give it a time, and then something, because I think on the hangman card there's something with the third eye or crown chakra, there is like a light pouring onto that, there is something going on with the higher chakra, I know, and there is like, okay, you are in suspense. Yeah, you are in suspense, you don't know where you're going, you don't know what you're doing, but you're trying to figure it out with your limited program here, which doesn't know all the possibilities, because the ego only knows what it already experienced. The ego, that's why we get scared, because the ego doesn't know what it doesn't know. That's why they say fear of unknown, even though we know that's a myth. But anyway, the ego only knows what it knows. Therefore, if we want to create a new experience, like have a different outcome, then we just need to trust that actually there's something that is divinely guiding us, whether it's our higher self, our spirit guides, it doesn't matter what it is, but it's something that is not our limited brain, which is a beautiful instrument, but is limited. And that's usually when something comes, some inspiration, a person, a sign, a something, you know, these high priestess symbols. And then at the end, it works out. And it works out much better than your ego brain could have figured out, because there is something higher, something bigger that see all the unlimited potential which we cannot see. And yes, I think it's so beautiful sometimes, just like, for example, with me and my story, how I went to Mexico and I was completely like on the verge of bankrupt, and I didn't even know how I'm gonna pay my next month's rent and stuff, and it worked out. It's you know, it's okay. And I could have no foreseen this 6 months ago, like none of this. I didn't even know you existed. So I mean, and I just trusted. I just trusted, well, this feels like this is the right thing for me, and I'm just gonna trust and wait and see. And then when I feel the desire to take an inspired action that is not coming from the place of fear and lack, which is the ego trying to control and gather information from the database, then usually sometimes something miracles happen that you could have never seen coming.
Like when pigs have wings, when pigs fly, that's the message, is saying, allow yourself to imagine the impossible, you know, to go up, and it's outside of yourself. It's like, you know, with the hanged man, it's saying that like sometimes the greatest awarenesses come in the stuckness. It's when I'm hanging here upside down, unable to move, that I actually have this aha that comes in. And yeah, I remember, even though, like, as you were going through that, like witnessing like the craziest ways that like things would just land on your doorstep that solved whatever the issue was. Like even if it
Right.
was like getting invited out to dinner and you knew that meal was, you know, like you knew that you were going to be able to have, you know, like it's just like these ways and means just became clear. And it is about trust. And it's about openness to flowing. And again, it feels like this one wrong at a time, you know, one divinely inspired step after another, being open to trust, being open to what's possible, even the seemingly impossible. Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. And especially since I really surrendered, you know, since I really surrendered to life a little, like it's not like I'm just lying here like waiting for things to happen for me, you know, but I
Waiting for
just
someone to put some grapes in your mouth or something.
right. But I just really, because like I really realized that my life has become really really like miracles and excited when I stop interfering with it, when I stop trying to predict it. And that's where, and now I'm kind of excited. Like, yes, of course, there is an insecurity, and I don't know when I'm going to be 6 months from now, 1 year from now, because I mean, I might have some ideas and hopes and wishes and all that, but nothing's set in a stone. But it's kind of exciting because it's like, well, you know, there is an unlimited potential of what that could be. I mean, whatever. And I mean, like I keep saying in my videos, not everybody is in a position where this is possible for them. But sometimes, like even in a situation which is impossible, things can just suddenly shift, and there might be some openings and stuff. So like, as we started with the hope, never lose a hope and a faith, because you never know what's around the corner. And you know, there could be just the complete turn that you haven't expected.
Yeah. And like we said before too, like one simple shift, not even like, it might seem like you're so far away from whatever it is that you think you want or that you're looking for, or whatever it is, like, how can I possibly ever get there? One little thing switches and everything comes into place. That it creates the ripple effect. And that one little drop creates all of this potential to bring the seemingly impossible into possibility. So that's really beautiful.
Because it's
Wow.
all about the belief. It's about whatever you believe you can create. And it already exists. It's just, you know, it's just a matter of time and space, but it already exists. If you can see it, if you can visualize it, it already exists.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just like what they say, I need to see it to believe it. But actually it's the opposite, right? You need to believe it to see it. And yeah, and with this Jupiter in Taurus, well, whatever you want to manifest, because Jupiter expands whatever it touches. If you think you can't, then you know, then it expands more of that. If you think you can, then be ready, because things are coming.
And in many ways, we've already tested that theory, because most of us have already spent probably a good deal of time projecting the belief that we can't, or that it's hard, or that it's going to take a long time. So sure enough, it's been hard. It's taken a long time. Like, we've actually already gotten a little proof that that does work, just not the way that we want, not to the result that we wanted. So, you know, what have we got to lose in allowing ourselves to try something different, to try the unexpected, or to just allow ourselves to entertain the possibility, even if it is just to disprove the theory, even if we go into it as a naysayer, just allow yourself to dip your toe in it, you know, give it a shot.
Well, and that's exactly how I was being told. Oh, you can't start making money out of astrology alone after studying astrology for less than 3 years. And I was like, well, I don't have time to waste.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah,
here I am, because I have friend that has been, or friends that's been doing astrology for much longer than I, but there is still not this believe in yourself. And I mean, well, I have nobody else to believe in, so you know, there's no husband to take care of me or something, so I have to believe in myself. And it seems to have accelerated the process. So, you know,
which all goes back to saying, like, and that sounds so neat and easy to say, oh, well, I don't, so I do. That's not to say that between here and there, in the in-between, you don't ever struggle with that, or have difficulty, or it's lonely, or whatever, all the different things that you're experiencing. So it's you taking that path, the path that you're taking, that's enabling you to, you're doing the like ground research, again, gathering all of the knowledge that you then are now in this position to share with others and to relate to others, so that you're able to bring it into their life and their path, and filtering through your experience, giving you the ability to then empathize with them, to learn how to explain and share your journey, which in turn has something in there for them. And it's not going to look just like your story, because that's your story, that's your path. So it's different, but there's the vibration of this energy that you have been moving in, and how you're able to share that with others now.
and that's possible
you're still learning.
Yeah, it's always ups and downs, guys. Nobody has got to the other side yet.
We might be back here in 2 weeks, like, oh, did we say no?
It's always like that. But you know, everybody can create it. It's literally, especially with this energy right there. Like, and there's an unlimited attention, unlimited potential available to us. It's just, do you want to tap into it? Do you feel you can? because like you said, don't allow anybody to tell you you can't, not even your sneaky self, right? There was something with the, you know, because we are the main saboteurs in our lives.
Yeah. And then we go looking for evidence of that, and then we find it outside of ourselves. But yes, underneath, it's actually just a projection of that aspect of us, again, trying to keep us safe, trying to keep us from really expanding too far beyond the controllable perimeter that's been set up. Yeah. Let's see, I'll just pull one here. Ooh, so we've got the Four of Wands.
That looks
Joy
like 𝗘𝗠𝗣𝗪𝗧.
Yeah, that's beautiful. This is all about the structure, and this is all about stability and what it is built on. So it does bring us into the home, right? It brings us into our structures. And it really does speak to some of the things we were saying about, and I've actually heard this in a number of different places in the last 48 hours about like rotten boards or rotten roots at the bottom and building on top of that, or you know, not clearing out the underneath in order to build the new. And so the Four of Wands really does have to do with taking a look at those structures and seeing what can stand and what can no longer stand, what we may have built some of those relationships on that are actually no longer stabilizing us. You know, that energy of four, which brings in like the four legs of a table, you know, that energy of bringing in that balance. And of course, the joy, and it's shining from the center, it's shining from that middle, but everything is all connected. There's like that overlap of all those areas, all those aspects of life, all being interconnected, that ripple effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I always say to people, like, what is your relationship built on? That's literally, as you were saying, I was thinking the same thing, because many times it is, smoke and mirrors and expectations, and it all comes from this being inauthentic and wanted to be, pretending to be what we think the other person wants us to be. And that's sometimes, it's hard to be yourself, because like, especially if we don't like ourselves, but then how can we expect the other people to like us? So I feel, with the time we're living in right now, with the North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra, a lot of people are reevaluating exactly that, the foundations of their relationships. And it doesn't have to be just the serious romantic relationships, but any relationships of our life, in our lives. What are they built on?
Yeah, definitely. What are they built on? And what areas do we have an opportunity to make those repairs or those replacements or those changes that, to me, it's like the tower energy of like those things that can't stand anymore. This is shining a light on in a constructive way, where there's the ability to make those repairs or those changes, versus the tower energy, which will happen if you don't take those steps. And I don't mean that in like a threatening way. I mean it in like inevitably, almost like a Jenga, the game Jenga, where you have to like slide out the pieces.
Yes.
And you don't want it to fall. So it's like there are some pieces of our foundations that can no longer stand. And so they have an opportunity to be extracted or removed and replaced with something that feels much more authentic. And that's what makes it strong and sturdy and stable, because it is genuine. And also the Four of Wands looks to like celebrations and milestones and dancing and movement. And it's making me think about these relationships being like a dance, and understanding that again takes practice and rhythm. And there's going to be some stepped on toes. There's going to be some missteps. It's all a part of the dance. It's all a part of those dynamics that play up in relationships of all kinds. It's really not, yes, romantic relationships, but again, relationships with relationships, how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to the world around us, and again, these little overlapping rings are like from the microcosm all the way out to the macrocosm, like as above, so below. It's all a mirror image. It's all projecting, all of that. But for the source in the center is this core source of light, the I am, but it plays out in all these different ways.
And that to me like represents like the conscious relationships, which everybody's talking about, becoming conscious about what we want, like just to be honest, because all relationships are transactional. We go to relationship because because there is something for us in there, you know, whether it's just a growth or lesson or learning or something. We are attracted to people for a reason, because there is always something in there that is supporting us, or we are supporting the other, or hopefully both of us are supporting each other on that path of growth and evolution, on that fool's journey. And even like you were saying with the dance, it's like that card that came out quite a few times in the past months, the giving and receiving. You know, it's always about giving and receiving. It's the transaction of any relationship, and it's not in a, you know, in a like a sneaky monetary way, but everything is transactional. You don't go to a relationship with someone where there is nothing there for you. I mean, why would you be doing that? Because there is always something. There is something we are attracted to, and usually is, you know, especially if there is like unhealed trauma, we are attracted to someone who is similarly traumatized, so we can perhaps trigger each other to find the healing and the common growth. And that's why when the relationships will become more conscious and people are aware, then they say, well, this is what I have to offer to you, but this is something I'm still vulnerable about because I'm working on this, and I need you to be aware of that. And it makes completely different dynamic than us pretending and gaslighting and, you know, all these like manipulative dynamics going on. So I feel that this Four of Wands, especially with the light, the source energy and the expansion and all that purple and coming, you know, from that center point, and then it ripples again, another ripple effect, you know, like the Vesica Pisces. This is the conscious relationships, which will become much more stable because they are built on all these different, the foundation is steady because we know what we bring into it consciously.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally feel that. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's unfamiliar to, it's familiar, but it's unfamiliar. It's unfamiliar to the conditioning and the pattern that we have. So it does feel at first like the dance, right? It's a little awkward. I don't know the moves. Like, I don't know. I hate line dances, like the electric slide and some of those dances. Like whenever you're at a dance and they would start playing those, because it's like, I don't know all the moves. Like, I don't want to mess it up. They all look like they're doing, and I don't know what I'm doing. They're like, slide to the left, you know, like the cha-cha slide, and I'm like, I don't know that dance. It's uncomfortable. So there's that sense of like, it's a whole new way of relating, and it feels uncomfortable, or it might feel very strange to hear someone being very direct about what they need, or what they, you know, being conscious about it and being like, oh, like it sounds kind of like rude, you know, for you to tell me what you want, you know, shouldn't you just be, you know. And it's like that transition into, like I said, some missteps, some stepped on toes, you know, some misbeat there, because finding our rhythm, you know, finding the rhythm there. But it does feel very, like I said, milestones. It's a moment in time that we're in now, this season that we're moving into. And that's really what that, you know, Wheel of Fortune is talking about, is that dial turning again and moving into the next. And that's also this up the ladder toward this place in there, you know, this opening that we're seeing of what's possible.
The portal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see, even with the dance analogy, imagine if people would never step out of the line, then we would never have all this beautiful variety of dances. If people would just always stay with that one, you know, like in the old days, there was all this classic music, all this, what you call it, ballroom, right? Ballroom. But look at all these beautiful different genres, and they happened because somebody stepped out of the line. Somebody was brave enough to be laughed at and say, well, I don't know these steps, I'm gonna create my own. And that's where we are right now. We are on the precipice of that, creating that new way of relating, creating those new relationships, creating the new relationship with yourself, because we are in Leo season, just on the precipice of new moon in Leo, and it's all about creation, birthing this new version of self, who you are, who you want to be. And there is the portal. Look, there is the portal for you. It's right there. It's available. Whatever you want, it's available to us. It's all there.
Yeah. Just imagine what's possible. And that's what I love about it. Like I said, she's just kind of standing there, like taking it all in, like, what's up there? You know, like hands behind her back, like, maybe I will, you know, like contemplating it. And that's, you know, this is the time this week, you know, as we build up to this, I know, like, I feel like the same, like we're talking like it already happened. It hasn't even happened yet. We have all this energy to harness that we can tap into of like, yeah, spend this time thinking about what is that, what's up there in that, through that portal. When you step through to the other side, like, what are you envisioning, and what are you looking to manifest in your life in these different areas of your life, and allowing yourself to consider what's possible and setting those intentions.
And you see, that's the problem actually, because people always just focus on they don't want. If you ask people what they want, most of the time they can't tell you. They know everything they don't want, and that's what we are conditions to focus on, that which you don't want. Or like, you know, my parents believe that if you prepare for the worst, then when it happens, you okay because you prepared for it. But why not prepare for the best? You know, why not think like this is another thing that happened. Like my parents, like for example, when I worked on a cruise ships, I always would choose the ship that I wanted with the perfect itinerary for me. And they said, well, but you should have at least 3 options, like plan B or plan C. And I was like, no, I want the plan A, you know, because that's the one I'm focusing on. And I always got the ship I wanted, because if necessary, I was willing to wait for it, you know, like like the hangman, right? But that's the thing, like if people become very clear about what they want, but I mean, of course, not getting rigid, like, oh yeah, now I'm not flexible, and if it doesn't look exactly like that and is exactly that man, then yeah, that's it, universe, it's dysfunctional, it doesn't work, this universe doesn't know what I'm wanting. But it's just like, if you become clear about the thing that really matter to you, for example, you know, like I always say to my client when they ask me, oh, when am I going to meet this perfect man, right? When is love coming into my life? And I say, well, when you become it, when you become that which you want to attract, because by the law of attraction, we attract that which we are in resonance with. So you want that spiritual man, that loyal man, that whatever, you know, then, you know, it has to start with you. So that's why I feel that with this portal, actually number 8 is the number of infinity, isn't it? Lying down, it's the unlimited opportunities for which you just decide what you want, and then you just focus on it and you become it. You already tapping into the energy by experiencing that on your daily life, in your daily life, and then universe has to deliver it to you. It might not look like exactly that Brad Pitt, if that's the one you have your eye on. It might not be him, but it might be someone that has these characteristics that you are seeking, and that there will be this soul recognition, even though he might look completely unexpectedly, or she, or whatever it. But you know what you are attracted to in your essence, and when it shows up, you will know.
Yeah, it's about the vibration. So it's the frequency.
Yes.
How do I want to feel? How do I want my experience to be? But again, it's not the nitty gritty details of exactly how it's going to be, and even the ship that it's going to be on, right? So you have this itinerary and you have those aspects, which that's wonderful, and you manifested it. But of course, like you say, if you're too rigid, if it's too much of limitation on it, then yes, you're creating that friction for yourself, versus really focusing on how can I vibrationally call in my whatever it is. So if it is soulmate, or if it is my ideal job or living situation, or whatever it is, my ideal reality, you know, it's about vibrationally aligning yourself with that frequency, carrying that frequency, the vibration of joy and stability, which is what this card says, or whatever it may be. And then that's the ripple effect. Then that is the shining out of what is being called back in. Yeah. And that's what we're learning. That's what we're having an opportunity to learn. I can't say I have it mastered myself, but I can observe when I'm stuck.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity.
Like as you always keep saying, that the man's rejection, God's protection, and then usually when something else turns up later, then it's much better than what you wanted. You know, like with my cruise ships, you know, it's gone all down the pothole after COVID started and stuff. But actually, my life, I wouldn't change for anything now. That was the best thing that ever happened to me. And at the time, I was devastated. I was like, oh my God, my life is over. You know, that's it. And now, you know, looking back 3 years when that all was taking place and stuff, and I'm thinking, oh my God, thanks God, you know, thanks God. I'm like in the best place I have ever been, and I could have never foreseen in a million years that this is where I would be. So sometimes it's like that. You think like, oh yeah, is this Brad Pitt? Oh my God, that's the man I want, that's my soulmate. And then it doesn't happen, and then, you know, a few years later there, you meet this love of your life and you go, thanks God it didn't happen, or or something. And it's usually always that's what I mean. Sometimes we just need to get out of the way so universe can actually deliver that right thing for us.
Yeah, just being in flow. Definitely. I'm gonna pull these out so we can see. All right, so should we just do like another little, our little 3-card what to know, do, and be,
Yeah.
as we navigate the back half of August and all this 8 energy? And yeah, so we'll just set that intention to know, to do, and be
for the upcoming rest of the month.
Yeah, for all the other things that we have. We're only halfway through the lunations of this month.
I know, it feels like I don't know why, it just feels very culminating, even though, I mean, it is new moon, which usually represents culmination and new beginning, just like these ones and tens and all that we had going on over there. But I don't know why, I just feel like August is already done, even though it's only midway through.
Yeah, yeah, it's weird. It does. It seems like time is just
not
all
linear.
over the place. Yeah, like a leap, a jump. All right, let's see. To know. Okay, I actually was picturing this card earlier when I was talking about the strength card, the control card. I'll show you that.
2 of Swords, no? Or is it 3?
Yes, 2 of Swords. And there's something about it that I was thinking about when I pulled out that strength card. To do, action. Ooh, that's Pentacles, awaiting results. Pause and patience are necessary. And to be. Ah!
Oh, well.
She's back. Oh, yes, to be observant. So, yes. So the reason I was picturing this card, which is called Refusing to See, is because I knew that there was an eye on the helmet, the third eye.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, when you're in that out of balance state of Leo energy, the strength card energy that I was showing you, with that helmet on the head and the cloak, that is heavy. That's a heavy armor to carry, and as a result, it keeps you downcast and you're not seeing the light. The light is just there. It's right there. Like we know ends up coming in when we're in this state of observe and being open. When we are closed off and being in this protective. So this was our position to know. So just know that there are things that we have been refusing to see, that we've been unable to see because we've been in these states of protection or avoidance or numbing or whatever it is that we're cloaked in. But there is this wisdom that's coming in, there's this light that's shining in, and there's always more than meets the eye. That's what I'm feeling, more than meets the eye, because the 2 of Swords talks about feeling limited. I'm at a crossroads, I have a choice to make, but I don't see any good options. I don't have a choice. This is what we were talking about, but there is always a choice, right? And in fact, there could be more choices than what you see. Yeah. More than meets the eye. And so it's this heaviness that is clouding or keeping me from being able to experience the full spectrum of choices or options. So there's something more to see. So know that is what I'm getting there.
Yeah, and I'm coming across quite often a situation where there is like an inner war, like even like, the clients I had experienced today, I said, to me, it feels, looking at people's charts sometimes, that there is this inner war going inside. Like there is like this push and pull energy. Like we want something, but we think we can't have it. So we give up and we say, no, I have no choice. I have no choice because this, what I want, is impossible. But by thinking it's impossible, we make it so. So it's like, it's really this like there is this crisis that in many cases we create because of the belief system, because even Swords is a mental car. It's what the brain is telling us, and it's limited. The ego is limited because it only knows what it knows. So just like with that, that light on his crown chakra, it's saying, I'm right here, I'm right here, You just need to listen or like pay attention or something, rather than be at war with yourself. I want this, but I can't have it. And there is this war, this conflict, whereas all we need to do is just listen,
Yeah, just look up, or in some way allow ourselves to see beyond, to see outside, or to seek out what more is there for me to see? If I'm feeling closed, if I'm feeling stuck, that's my key. That's my red flag. That's my symptom that says, check out your surroundings. Take a look and see what more there might be to see, more than meets the eye.
And I feel it's very helpful when you just go out and look, like lie on your back and just look at the sky, and suddenly your problem seems much smaller, you know?
Yeah, it's perspective building, that's for sure. It definitely
Yeah.
gives you some perspective. Now here we see what to do, right? So the do energy is bringing in, I don't know, I'm seeing a full moon back there, but this is giving us that 7 of Pentacles awaiting results, right? So that's definitely bringing in that being present with the energies and the stages of growth, and recognizing that there's patience that's called for, you know, and just being present in the pause, but also recognizing like the 2 full-grown trees on either side. This is sort of like that seedling, you know, that's growing, and even if we can't see it, there is progress happening and there's growth happening. And again, when we talk about clearing out the old and you know, the old stuff that can't stand, we're planting on fertile soil. We're planting these things again, with having sort of gone through all of those prior experiences, extracting what we know works, and then building off of that and what we're bringing forward. And 7, of course, too, bringing in that energy of, yeah, I'm feeling like the Pisces, the blue moon is what I'm feeling here, like that timing. So it is over those next coming weeks then that we're awaiting the results. We're planting the seeds, we're setting the intentions, but we're awaiting results when it comes to seeing the fruit.
And what I'm actually tapping into here is something that came up for me yesterday when I was getting together with the girls to talk about, you know, the astrology of all of this. And because there, if you look at the chart of this lunation, or of where we are at right now, it doesn't have to be specifically the new moon. There is a lot of closing phases. There are a lot of closing balsamic conjunction, like we know Mercury with Mars, you know, obviously Venus to this new moon, Jupiter to Uranus. It's something that is already within the degree, but it hasn't happened yet. It's building towards it. And also we know that many of these are actually going to take place next year, like, you know, the North Node and Chiron also. And that's why, like, I feel like this year is, like, as we keep saying, is a transitional year, because there is still a lot of cycles that are closing with the Pluto back in Capricorn, you know, retrograde on the last degrees. There is still a lot of cycles that are closing, that are giving us this little bit of more time before we launch full speed ahead into Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius. So it's interesting that you said about this closing of the cycle and awaiting results. And another thing is that after this lunation that we'll have right now, the upcoming 2 lunations will be in the feminine signs, you know, so it's again this retrieve, take a step back. Of course, Mercury is going to go retrograde on the 23rd, which is our faculties. So things will be slowed down whether we like it or not, because our brain will go on holiday. I know mine will. That's why I'm taking a week off, because I know what happens with Mercury retrograde in my chart. And yeah, and so what I'm actually tapping into is this full moon in Aries that is on September 29th on the equinox, right? Isn't that equinox? I'm pretty sure it is. And then we know that everything has been kind of concepted this year during the Aries season, you know, the double new moon in Aries, the solar eclipse, and we know that that's where things started really shifting. And now we're seeing the activation of that energy, but it's still this push and pull, you know, the going forward, going backward, you know, this Cancer energy, because the node shifted on after the new moon in Cancer. So I don't know why, but I feel that this full moon in Aries at the end of September will be this big build up, and then as we know, then it will be the eclipse season in October. So I think that there is still some stuff we need to reevaluate, because of course during the full moon in Pisces we will already have Mercury retrograde, and then of course Uranus also is going retrograde, and Mercury will be retrograde until mid-September, and then it will be still in, you know, shadow, like post shadow or whatever. And Venus will go direct on September 4th, where Jupiter will go retrograde, and Jupiter is ruled by Venus, so everything is connected. And then, of course, as the, you know, fall and winter progresses, more and more planets will station direct. So that's why I feel, I don't know why I feel that this is somehow a time where we are using this observe energy, because I don't know, also looking at that card being red, I'm thinking Aries full moon, because the moon behind her is full. So I don't know why I'm thinking this Aries full moon has something, some illumination message for us.
Yeah, well, I don't know exactly the number of weeks, because I was going to say, like, oh, so you're saying we have to wait longer than 2 weeks till the next, cycle. But I wonder if it's even close to 7 weeks away with that number 7. But I hear what you're saying. I think that makes a lot of sense, is that, again, before we're seeing the fruit, or we're seeing it on the outside, but there's so much going on internally over the cycle that we're moving through in this window of time that's taking us all the way through then to the equinox. Even does feel like there's a lot happening again inside. It's happening within. And this is exactly what we were just saying, like, for me to vibrationally align myself with all the things that I want when I cross over that portal, when I go through and I open myself up to receive this or something better, I want to get everything all aligned from within, from the inside out. So it feels like from the inside out, awaiting results, but also recognizing the progress too. So 7 of Pentacles is about pausing and really seeing how far we've already come full circle through all of these chapters that we've been moving through. So yeah.
Also with the with the retrogrades and all this energy that's like, this new moon, so it's behind the veil, then the full moon, but it's in Pisces, so again behind the veil, the observe card, that was the Hangman, right? So Hangman is Pisces, I believe, right? Isn't it Pisces? I thought it was like, or Neptune or something. It was something connected to this nebulous energy, like, things are not what they quite seem. We need to look at them from different perspectives. So that's why I'm thinking, that there is a lot happening. There is tons of things happening that are happening behind the veil. They're not quite ready, like you can see on this awaiting results, she's putting down roots. She's making herself stable. She's putting down these roots. So the roots are sturdy, like we said last time about this willow tree. It looks so vulnerable and fragile, but the roots are strong. So I feel that's what's happening right now. We're putting down the roots, and there is a lot happening behind the veil, but it doesn't mean nothing is happening. There is a lot happening. We just don't see the results yet. And that's why I feel that full moon in Aries that would be more fire than we can hold.
Yeah, keep your eyes on the prize and just allow things to unfold in time, and being present. Be present. A lot of P's coming up: patience and presence and progress, and just allowing all of that to unfold for sure. Yeah, because it does bring us into how to be, and how to be is bringing in that Hanged Man energy of being present with your current self. I'm here, I'm observing, I'm seeing the different seasons, I'm seeing the passage of time, I'm seeing how I've moved through each of these phases. I can already look back and see how I've moved through just even the first half of this month, and then here I am now, and then how do I want to move forward through the rest of this month, and now I'm projecting out into the future of just allowing myself to observe and be present, even when it's not exactly how I envision, because I feel stuck or I feel limited in some way. It doesn't mean that there aren't things going on that are coming in that are, this moment is serving a purpose in the growth as well, and just be present and be observant of all of the energies and how they're relating to you, how you're relating to them. And again, tapping into what can I learn from each of these experiences and use them to inform my future.
And to me, it's very fascinating that the end of the month, Mars, the ruler of the North Node, is going to go into Libra, which means that it's going to be ruled by the ruler of the South Node. So I think this is very interesting, because again, it's telling us, well, in order to go forward, there is something that needs to be resolved to do with the past, but then everything is pointing towards relationships. I mean, you can't make this up. And I mean, for us, Leo is the 7th house, so because we are both Aquarius rising, so to me it makes sense. Relationships are coming to the surface, even though they're not playing out in my life exactly, but it's definitely interesting.
but it's even in the not playing out that they're playing out, because if there's not much to report, then that in itself there's a message in that, right? There's growth in there's something available, even though we don't see the fruits. And that's really what this is saying to me, is like, yeah, we don't see it yet, but we know that it's going on, and we observe that, again, there's a time and a season for everything. And really, that's like literally the words to that passage of like a time to plant, a time to sow, a time to reap all of the faith, like it's this energy of like, be present with where we are in this moment, and allow the growth and the gold to come forward from each one, because ultimately we will be able to look back upon that and see all of this progression that we took, wrong by wrong, step by step on the ladder, each stage of the game, every place where we've been. It's funny because when you were talking about the cruise ship, I was going to say this is like portal, like the window of a cruise ship. So it's like down here, like this is already like everything I manifested, and all the itineraries and all the places I'm going to go from this ship has to be on this ship. How else am I ever going to get to see the world? That's it. But actually, there was something even bigger and better that you could have ever imagined, and it's like, it's just on the other side, even if I don't yet see the full picture, allowing myself to trust the path. And there's been so many key words today, like flow and trust and the path. And, here we are, observe,
and present.
And present. Yeah, like so many buzzwords that are coming in here for us to really see how this all is playing out.
Yeah, I love this. Well, I hope that people enjoy this. This has been, as always, a treat.
Yes.
So yes. So we're going to wrap it here, because it is getting a bit late. It's actually 23:32 for me right here. So it's like double five. So Marisa, would you like to tell people where they can find you and what you have on offer at the moment?
Sure. I'm in all the places on Instagram and Facebook, my website. It'll be all here in the caption, growintheflow.site. But I did mention throughout today, Marco Polo is a free app where I have a sharecast, and that's where I share a lot more offerings and specials and things of that nature. So I encourage people to join my sharecast for free and follow along. It's a little quiet corner outside of social media. I actually have a birthday giveaway going on this month. So everyone who follows me on Marco Polo does get 3 entries into the giveaway. And I also have a special reading for the rest of this month. Anybody who wants to join in for the empowerment pack. So it is coming along for the reading that's about to happen, the new moon in Leo reading with personal oracle cards for you. And then we will do the blue moon at the end of the month. So I will give the link for anyone who's interested in checking that out.
Absolutely. And I'll put it all in the description. And Marco Polo is definitely the preferred way me and Marisa communicate, because it's not censored. It's not censored platform at the moment anyway. So if you guys want to have a more close connection with people where you don't have to be censored, that definitely it could be one of the options. So check it out. Okay, I wish everybody a beautiful rest of the day, night, wherever you are, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Sounds good. Sending love.